The thing is, I remember telling you about the new Solo Star Wars Story trailer in one of our cold opens. I was like, oh yeah, shit, they've done another one. Or I heard about them releasing another trailer. So I was like, oh, I've got to see this. And yeah, well, I still maintain that it's going to be bad.
Yeah, well, speaking of terrible things we've seen on the internet, I wanted to tell you, like, I think right after our podcast, I saw the worst video ever made. It was by, do you know a guy called Jonathan Pye?
Yes.
So basically, he became like a thing during the election, and the whole thing was like, hey,
which election?
2017 general election.
All right. Well, because I saw him before that.
Oh, well, you're
yeah.
cool.
I was quick to the curve. And to be honest, I didn't see it. I was in a politics seminar, and the seminar leader put it on. She wasn't a very good seminar leader, from what I remember. Wow. Anyway, go on.
Well, his whole stick is that, like, he tells it like it is, man. He says what everyone else is too afraid to say. And, like, the minute anyone says that about anyone, you can pretty much guarantee that their opinions are just going to be awful.
Yes.
So I saw he'd uploaded a video called The Wage Gap, and and I watched it, and it was like really bizarre, because it's the premise of the video is he's interviewing a feminist about the wage gap, and the feminist admits that the wage gap isn't real, and then Jonathan Pye's like, but that doesn't fit the narrative. And it's really confusing, because the way it starts off kind of okay, because it's important to understand, Luke, and I assume you know this, that feminists nowadays aren't saying that women are paid 80% in real wages for the same work as men. But what feminists are saying is that through things like bonuses, and through things like the way you can be penalized for taking part-time work, and also through the way that women are expected to put their careers second to things like having children and things like that, and all of that stuff, that causes women to be paid less.
Yes.
You think, like, you watch it, and at first I was like, okay, maybe this isn't going to be terrible. Maybe the video is going to be, Jonathan Pye plays the kind of stupid person who has this misconception about feminism, and then this woman's going to explain it. And it starts off like you think it's going to be like that. She's like, oh no, that's not what feminists aren't saying, that women are paid 80 cents or whatever for what a man makes in actual work. It's more complicated than that. But then, like, she starts basically just saying that there is no wage problem, and Jonathan Pye is playing a feminist. So it's really weird, because he's playing a feminist, and then he's got another woman on there also playing a feminist, but a feminist who isn't really a feminist. And Jonathan Pye's like, but what about the fact that warehouse workers, who are mostly men, get paid far more than shop floor workers, who are mostly women? And she literally just says, yeah, but there are some shop floor workers who are men as well. And that's literally the argument. And I'm just like, what's happening? But the weird thing is, what bothers me about it is if it was just, standard moron makes a video where they explain why the wage gap isn't real, then that would just be like, I could understand that. But the way he made it, it was as if he thought he was doing like a service to feminism, because it was kind of like the new wave of like, oh, we're feminists, but we're rational feminists. We're not like those stupid feminists who believe in things like the wage gap. And it just made it more embarrassing, because it was like there was a real sense of purpose to this stupid video. And then you go into the comments and it's all these people like, wow, this guy makes great content. What a great guy. And
he tells it like it is.
He tells it like it is. Oh, speaking of actually, this morning I decided to watch CITV, and one of the sketches was President Donald Trump's, and the joke was it was just Donald Trump doing a press conference, and he kept farting, and I was
probably better than most of his press conferences.
and I just found it so weird, because it was like Like, I was imagining like a kid watching it and what they would think, and like what do you think kids think when they look at Donald Trump?
He's an idiot.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I remember.
I assume that's what they think.
Yeah, there was one of the big things in the run up to the election was it was like people should look up to the president. You know, children should see the president and be like, he's a real good guy. He's who I want to be when I'm older. You know, the president should be an inspiration for people. And Donald Trump isn't that.
Well, that was the Hillary Clinton campaign. That was their central message. It's like, don't vote for Donald Trump because, you know, how can we have this man, you know, this disgusting human being as president? And many Americans were like, well, I'll show you how we can do that. I'm going to vote for him.
And really, that's what it's about. It's about fighting back against the establishment. When the establishment has faith in humanity and says that we're not stupid enough to make a self-destructive and wholly terrible decision, we'll show them.
Okay,
Who do they think
this cold open has so much relevance to Thor Ragnarok.
I was you know what, actually, on that note.
Back up, chump, you know Biggie Smalls rips it quick and kicks it quick. You know how black niggas get with the hoods, fatigues, with the boots, with trees. Flipping trees, making crazy G's. Hitting buckshots at niggas that open spots on the avenue. Take my loot and I'm bagging. Pimping hoes that drive Volvos and rodeos. Flash the roll, make a wet in they pantyhose. Damn, a nigga style is unorthodox. Grip the clock when I walk down the crowded block. Just in case a nigga wanna act out, I just black out and blow their motherfucking back out. That's a real nigga for you.
Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the podcast where we look at films that have come out relatively recently at the cinema and see if they still hold up upon closer inspection. I am your host, Michael, and I'm joined by my co-host, Luke. And today, we are going to be continuing our marvelous extravaganza.
Was that mix of marvelous and Marvel?
Yeah, well, you know, amazing exploration of the Marvel films by looking at, of course, well, we looked at Iron Man 1 last week, so it only makes sense that when we come to look at Thor, we look at Thor 3.
Yes, so, Thor, sorry, I was looking at my phone then. Thor Ragnarok. This is the movie that we're reviewing today. It's a 2017 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics character Thor. And it is a sequel to 2011's Thor and 2013's Thor: The Dark World. And it is the 17th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So obviously we did the first one last week. This one is the 17th. So that's quite a big jump.
Yeah, flew by.
So
none of those films dragged.
So it's directed by Taika Waititi. It's directed by a guy called Taika Waititi, who is, I believe, New Zealand. He's from New Zealand.
Do you think he's of Maori descent? See, I don't actually know how to pronounce that. It's either pronounced, Maori, or Maori.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce it, Luke?
I believe it's Maori.
Maori.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is he of Maori descent?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it is. I assume so anyway. So he voices one of the characters, Thor.
Yes.
The screenplay, Eric Peterson, Craig Kyle, Christopher Yost, produced by Kevin Feige, who...
Paul Feig?
If we remember from last week, he's the guy that started all this. So
yeah.
He's still at it, 9 years later. Starring Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hiddleston, Kate Blanchett, Idris Elba, Jeff Goldblum, Tessa Thompson, Carl Urban, Mark Ruffalo, and Anthony Hopkins. Quite a star-studded list there of actors. Yeah, considering like it's just a superhero movie. They've got a lot of things.
It's just who cares about superhero films?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's how big superhero film got nowadays. You get a really good cast like with literally A-list actors.
Yeah.
Carl
Carl Urban, famous star of the 2012 film Dredd,
yes.
based on the ever-popular superhero Judge Dredd.
Everybody loves Carl Urban. Do you want to just say what the release date is? November the 3rd, 2017, in the United States. What is the budget, Michael? Have a guess.
Well, first of all, Luke, I want to point out that you really slighted Norse mythology there when you said it's based on the character of Thor, the Marvel Comics book character Thor.
I'm just reading what the Wikipedia entry is.
All the Vikings were so upset.
All the Vikings watching this podcast are going to hit that dislike button.
Thor is now a Marvel comic books character. I'm going to get the budget. See, I feel like my logic is that I don't think the budgets would increase that much, generally speaking. And obviously I feel like it was around 100 million for Iron Man. I'm going to guess a slight increase and go for 140 million.
Well, here's the thing, Michael. So I got a bit jealous of you, the fact that you get to play this game and I don't. You know, because I enjoy guessing games as well. So I thought, right, before I watch this movie, or before I go on the Wikipedia page and find out the budget, I'm going to have a guess at the budget. You know, just a little game for myself. You know, make it a bit fun for me. And my guess, no word of a lie, was $180 million. That was my guess. I thought, yeah, I'll be around there. And the budget is exactly $180 million. So what I'm trying to say to you is I guessed it completely right. And obviously you're 40 million off. But the main thing here is I guessed it completely right, which, you know, is the first time I've tried to guess it. And I know I've got no evidence to prove this.
Luke, I think you should quit while you're ahead.
Yeah.
And don't move it on my turf, brother.
Yeah. I've got no evidence to prove that I've done it, but you know what, I did
personally, it. I don't believe you.
I was shocked when I saw I got it exactly right. So yeah, that's the budget, $180 million. And the box office.
Box office is... See, last time I guessed quite high for Captain America, for Iron Man. I'm gonna go for... So I guessed 800 million for Iron Man, and it wasn't that much. I'm gonna go for... See, I don't think this broke a million. I'm going to go for 850 million.
You just said you don't think it broke a million.
That's right, I don't think it broke a billion. Yeah, I don't think it got more than a million. Yeah, I don't think it got more than a billion.
Yes, you're correct. It didn't get more than a billion, and you are basically right, Michael. Very good guess. 854 million.
Good.
Is how much it took in at the box office. So, well done. Yes, very accurate.
Well done, Luke.
Which is more, of course, than Justice League, which was released around the same time.
Hold a minute, Luke, but Justice League is about Justice League. Everyone cares about Justice League.
It's got the biggest superheroes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no better illustration of how far Marvel has, I guess...
surpassed.
Yes, surpassed DC than those two movies coming out at the same time. Justice League and then it'd be this big movie, Thor Ragnarok. Like, the third installment of the Thor franchise got more money, or more people want to see it than that movie, which is kind of crazy. Like, nobody would have thought of that 10 years ago.
It really makes you want to just believe that the Norse mythology is true.
Yeah.
It makes you want to whip out the prose Ada.
It does.
I think that's the Norse Bible.
Well, you know about that more than me. What can I say?
Jack had a copy of it, and that's basically how I know it. He had it in his room. And I was like, what's this? And he said, it's the prose Ada, it's the Bible of Norse mythology. And I was like, is it good? And he said he hadn't even read it.
Is it good?
Yeah.
God, what a nerd.
Awful. Yeah,
he hasn't read it, but to even have it. Jesus.
Yeah, to even have it.
What a nerd.
I almost think it's more nerdy to have it than not read it.
Yeah.
Because that means he just went to the library.
I mean, I don't agree, but yeah. No, yeah. God, what a nerd. Maybe he liked it because of Skyrim. Maybe that's why.
Yeah. Maybe he liked it because of the film Beowulf, starring Angelina Jolie.
Oh, yeah. I remember that movie.
You know what? I'm going to say this. I mean, if we were reviewing that film, I would say it's not bad. And if you're watching Beowulf, then you're not going to be disappointed. You know, because it's exactly what you would think it would be. I'm not going to say it's good.
Oh,
I mean, it's not bad. Maybe it is good, Luke. What do you think about Beowulf?
I saw it once, like 10
Really?
years ago. Yeah, and I can't really remember what I thought of it, but I didn't think too highly of it.
I think I liked the fact it was animated, but also violent, because that means it's dark, and dark means it's good.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
Unlike
there
this
you go.
film. This film wasn't dark enough. I would have preferred it if it was darker.
Yeah. Taika Waititi was a bad choice. It should have been Zack Snyder.
Yes.
Okay, so, do you want to get onto the nitpicks of Thor
Actually,
Ragnarok?
Luke, I am supposed to ask you, did you like it?
Oh, did I? Yeah, I did. I did like it. How about you?
I did like it. I'm wondering, I did like it, basically, but I think that it's not an enthusiastic like, it's kind of I liked it.
Okay.
I think that's more my stance.
Fair enough.
But yeah, now we can get into the nitpicks.
Yes. How many did you get?
Well, I have basically just two, and one of them I don't really want to say it because I know that you'll attack me for saying it because
Rip
it's
you
not very
apart.
legitimate. Yeah, like I mean, I only just wrote it because I thought of it. Like
Okay.
I've said that before, but sometimes I just write nitpicks because I think of them.
Well, go on. You go.
Okay, I'll tell you my bad one. And like I say, I mean, I'm not basically Loki. Loki gets sucked into a portal by Doctor Strange, and then Thor tells Doctor Strange to make Loki reappear. So Doctor Strange opens up a portal, Loki falls through, and he's really angry, and he says, "I've been fooling for 30 minutes." Now I think that eventually you just get to appreciate how fun it would be to be fooling for 30 minutes. It's basically just like skydiving.
Yeah, but where's he skydiving to?
Well, I mean, what I think
Is he even in the sky?
maybe it's because I'm a kind of glass half full guy. But I've always kind of thought like I'm one of those big believers in if you're going to commit suicide, you should do it in a cool way. So I'm always a big fan of jumping off buildings.
Yeah, I guess so. Gun to a head, it's just where's the thrill?
Yeah, so I think you should shoot up a school and commit suicide by cop.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, I guess so. But I think maybe he was like, shit, I'm falling, and then after a couple of minutes he was like, oh my god, am I gonna keep falling forever? And then he started to enjoy it. But then it went back to, okay, this is getting boring now. And then he went back to anger, like, oh my god, when will this end? So maybe he went through some
you're saying
stages.
there's an entire character arc that we missed out.
Yeah. Yeah,
Should have
maybe.
been the post-credit scene. Actually, I can't even remember what the post-credit scene was for this film.
The first time I watched this, I didn't see the post-credit scene because I forgot, like Marvel comics.
I do that so often. I genuinely miss so many of that. I think that's actually true. I honestly think I may not have even watched the post-credit scene.
So the first, it's a mid-credit scene in which Thor and Loki are looking at the ship which they have, and all the people on it are like, oh, should we go to Earth? Oh no, Loki's like, oh, I don't think they'll like me at Earth, considering what happened to them. And then a massive ship appears in front of their ship, and then it cuts. And then the end credit scene is Jeff Goldblum getting out of a ship. All those garbage people at the start, the scavengers who captured
the garbage people.
Yeah, the garbage people who captured Thor. So he's talking to them and saying, well, good revolution, guys. Give yourself a pat on the back. I played a big part because, of course, you need someone to overthrow. So we'll call it a tie. And
Jeff Goldblum is so funny. Remember when Jeff Goldblum was in Glee?
He was. I've never seen Glee, so I wouldn't know.
I was with someone who had Glee on, and it just I was kind of not to be a toxic masculinity kind of guy, but obviously I don't really like Glee because it's singing. Because it's so lame.
That's
it's for women.
Girl stuff.
Yeah. But I wasn't enjoying it. And again, I will be slightly kind to Glee and say that may have been just because I didn't have any sort of investment in it, seeing as I'd never seen it before. But then Jeff Goldblum showed up. And every single time I see Jeff Goldblum, I just imagine he's like the same character in all of his films. So I always feel like he comes along and I know him.
Oh,
You know,
that's nice.
he was in Jurassic Park, and then suddenly he went to Magical Kingdom in Thor, and in between he went to a high school where everyone sings.
Interesting. And in between that, he went to back in time to a non-existent Eastern European country called Slovakia and became a attorney.
Yeah, got his fingers chopped off and
His
died.
fingers chopped off, yeah. He's been on a lot of adventures with Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
To be honest, the only thing I remember about Glee, I mean, it was big like 8 years ago, but the only thing I remember is there was controversy over a gay actor playing a straight man. And I believe there was some controversy around that. But maybe I'm overblowing it because that's the only thing I ever remember about Glee.
Yeah. Remember when you said that John Barrowman should not be allowed to play bisexuals?
I didn't say that.
I
remember that argument. I remember that argument.
Because he's gay.
Yeah, I remember that argument. But you were the only person that understood my argument. And all the others fucking didn't understand. I'll be homophobic.
I'll restate your argument for the audience.
Yeah.
Basically, you were saying that you felt the only reason John Barrowman's character was made to be bisexual is because John Barrowman himself is gay.
Yeah, well, I didn't say that was the only reason. I said, is that the reason? I was thinking that probably is the reason.
Yeah,
but yeah.
And you were maybe implying that that's a bit... Well, I don't know if you...
Yeah, I was saying, like, why is that... Like, that's stupid. Like, you shouldn't just be... If this was the reason, obviously. If it's not, then it doesn't apply. But his character shouldn't be bisexual just because he himself is not straight. Yeah.
Also, I found... Who was angry? Okay, because it could be either way.
So
who was
angry? Alex
that...
first said that's a bit homophobic, isn't it? He said that. I was like, wait, no, what? It's not. And then Kyle...
Well, Alex is a big defender of gay...
Yeah, that's the thing. He was like, even for me, that doesn't sound right. And then I think Kyle, because he's a
calls it dick.
Yeah,
I found out I'm an 8th Geordie this weekend.
Oh no,
I had no idea. My dad, well, we were talking about like kind of where people come from, and my dad was like, of course, my grandma came from Newcastle, and I was like, what? Well, when were you planning on telling me this?
My dad's side of the family come from the northeast, and not specifically from Newcastle.
Oh, Middlesbrough.
Yeah, kind of near Middlesbrough. Yeah, but the thing is, their like grandparents or whatever. My grandparents are Irish, so like they're just there for like two generations. So I don't know if you really say my family's from there.
Just looking for potatoes so they don't die. Stupid Irish with their dying.
Anyway, we need to get back to Thor.
No, I wanted to ask a question. It's about Glee. So it was a gay actor playing a straight person?
Yeah, I think so.
I want to know, was it like right-wing anti-gay people who were angry about that, or was it social justice pro-gay people?
No, probably the former.
The former, yeah. I was going to say because I can imagine that social justice people would be more angry about a straight person playing a gay person.
Yeah, and I think they'd be happy with a gay person playing a straight person. Because
exactly.
Those gay people don't get pigeonholed into just gay roles.
Yeah. So basically, if you vote for Trump, then you're very angry when you see a straight person pretending to be gay, and when you vote for
No, the other way around.
No, sure.
A gay person pretending to be... Well, they're just mad at gay people, first of all.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that's a problem, I guess.
But yeah, they especially don't like how a gay person is portraying a straight person. I'd say that's what they're most angry at.
Although, ironically, they probably want gay people to pretend to be straight.
Yeah, but then... Yeah, but I think they'd also understand that it's just an actor, a character. Not the...
You're giving them a lot of credit there, Luke. Okay, now we can actually move on to discussing... should I do my final nitpick? You didn't say how many nitpicks you had, by the way.
I have 4. Go on.
Okay, I tell you have 4. Okay, so this one I do think is legitimate. So, again, it has to do with portals. They're going through this portal. Thor, Loki, and Marla? What's the name of the god of death?
Oh, I think it's Hela.
Yeah, Marla.
Yeah, Marla.
Oh, hella. And Loki falls out of the portal. And then a few seconds, like, maybe half a minute, definitely less than a minute later, Thor falls out of the portal and lands in this new world, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And Loki says, that he's been there for weeks, I think he says. And of course, Thor's like, hold on a minute, how can you have been here for weeks when, you only fell in a fraction before? I mean, it's pretty clear it's kind of like a Chronicles of Narnia thing. So, it's like, you stay there for a little while. And to be honest, I mean, maybe this isn't a nitpick because they never actually say this isn't true. I just wonder about it. According to the narrative of the film, the Hulk has been there for 2 years in Earth years.
Mm-hmm.
And I would think the implication of that would be that he's been there for centuries in...
Well, maybe not centuries.
But yeah, like a lot longer, like ages.
Yeah.
And like I said, I mean, maybe it's not a nitpick because they never actually say he hasn't been there for centuries. I mean, there's no point where anyone says the opposite. But I was just kind of thinking about it. I was thinking, like, hold on a minute, yeah, if Loki just fell through, a few seconds or half a minute before Thor and was there for weeks, then Bruce Banner, who showed up, 2 years ago, must have spent ages of, Narnia time.
Yeah, maybe he's been there for 50 years, just killing everybody.
I can't wait until the Chronicles of Narnia film cinematic universe gets rebooted.
It will actually,
because it's
going to get rebooted, definitely.
You know what? Actually, I wouldn't mind it getting rebooted, except for the fact that like it's pointless because they already made some. It's just no one cared about them.
Yeah, and the story's so weird. Like I know it's a kid's like tale or whatever. It's not meant for adults, but it's so fucking weird.
Yeah.
Just like everything, like C.S. Lewis, is that who wrote it? I hope so. Yeah.
Yes.
He must have been very high when he was writing that.
He was actually, I don't know if you noticed, but he was actually high on the love of Jesus. The Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe is quite allegorical to Christianity.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
With the whole Aslan thing.
Yeah, the whole dying for someone else's sins. It's very subtle. Anyway, your nitpicks.
So, my nitpicks. First, I'd like to start off with something which isn't actually a nitpick that I wanted to point out. Who's the guy who guards the Bifrost? You know his name? Begins with an S. He's bald.
Oh, yeah. Sicario. Sicario. His name's Sicario.
Scourge.
Scourge,
the Asgardian warrior. Scourge.
Yeah, he looks weird.
Yeah, he is weird. Played by Carl
He looks
Urban.
too pretty.
Yes. Pretty?
Yeah, he looks, I don't know, he's got like pretty eyes.
Mm.
He doesn't look like he should be bald.
Maybe not. So he has these two guns, assault rifles, and he names them Des and Troy.
Yeah.
And says he got them from Texas, obviously Texas. And obviously, he says right after, when they combine, it creates Destroy. But here's the thing, I thought at first it was a reference to the Dallas Cowboys, because he said he got them from Texas. But the Dallas Cowboys, obviously located in Texas, have a wide receiver who's one of the all-time greats, I think, in Dallas Cowboys history in terms of the wide receiver position, called Des Bryant. And they also have a quarterback who won 3 Super Bowls back in the 90s called Troy Aikman. So I thought it was a reference to Des and Troy. It makes Des Troy. And
you thought they'd make that reference just so you could be the one person in the audience who got it.
Yeah, see, I got it. But then I was like, oh, obviously it's, Destroy. That's what they were going for. That's the joke. So I'm wondering, like, did they know, or while writing this, did they figure that out?
Well, I think there's a huge overlap between comic book nerds and people who have an encyclopedic knowledge of American football.
You don't need an encyclopedic knowledge like I don't. They're two very famous football players,
Okay,
Troy Aikman and Des Bryant. Like,
I know. To be fair, I do know Des Bryant. I actually have heard of Des Bryant. I haven't heard of Troy Aikman.
Yeah, I'm really hope I'm getting this right.
I'll give you that, Luke. I'll give you the fact that I have heard of Des Bryant.
Oh, you sure you haven't heard of Kobe Bryant?
No, I'm not confusing. I know I could be doing that.
Yeah.
But I actually, yeah.
Okay. You do know they're two different people.
Yeah, although actually, you know what? I'm worried that the person I'm thinking of is called Des Brown. But I don't know if there's anyone called Des Brown.
I can't think of anyone called Des Brown.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Des Bryant.
Okay, so basically, I just found it funny that you had that situation with the guns. I don't know if they meant to do that, but anyway, I appreciate it if they did.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next nitpick is, I think, an actual proper nitpick, one that actually would have made the film better if they fixed this. When they go to Norway, Thor and Loki and Odin, Norway looks very fake, especially the shot where you're looking at the sea and their backs. The lighting just makes everything look just so fake. And I think I heard a story about how they needed to refilm parts of the movie because they didn't test well with the audience and decided to do some scenes in Norway instead. And I think it clearly showed, because, I don't know if you picked up on it, but it really looked quite fake.
I don't think I was paying attention because I assumed they were in Iceland.
Even though Doctor Strange says Norway.
Yes.
Why did you assume they were in Iceland?
Well, it's because I just watched the episode of The Simpsons which is a new episode and therefore not even very good, where they go to Iceland.
Okay. Why did they go to Iceland?
Well, they went to Iceland because the gang, Homer, Lenny, Mo, and Carl, make a collective lottery ticket, and then they win. But then Carl steals all the money and goes to Iceland, and you find out that Carl is from Iceland, which is just insane with a name like Carl Carlson. And yeah, they find out he's from Iceland. So they go to Iceland to track him down, and they find out that actually he was using the money to buy an important historical artifact. There we go.
Yeah.
Which he hoped would clear his family's name from the shame that they experienced from being black. No, not really. From being from letting the Viking. They let a rival horde attack their town. I think was the thing. So, and that's why everyone hated them. Although I think that was just an excuse.
Right, I'm just listening to this, and I was like, what the fuck? What convoluted story is this? It sounds like they're out of ideas.
Well,
just listening to you right there just confirms it.
They'll never stop The Simpsons.
Have Michael,
no fear, they've got stories for years.
I watched that episode today.
How about they go to Iceland?
It was when Marge becomes a robot.
Maybe Bart someone gets a cell phone. Has Bart ever
Mo gets a cell phone. Mo gets a cell phone.
Has Bart ever rung the bell about a crazy wedding?
Where something happens to do.
Sorry for the clip show.
Have no fear, we've got stories for years. Well, we should have had fear, Michael. We should have had a lot of fear.
Yeah,
Okay, on to the next one. Thor, I'm surprised you didn't get this, because this was a fairly obvious one. Thor can't handle the electric shock, even though he's like the god of lightning and thunder. Like, lightning runs through his body, but yet he can't handle an electric shock. What's all that about? Like,
maybe it's like how Superman's from Krypton, but he's allergic to kryptonite.
Yeah.
Remember, you're vulnerable to kryptonite. Jeez, Marge, tell the neighborhood.
That's a good line. Yeah. It's not that.
It is. I mean, if they felt like being a tiny bit more clever, they could have done like a kind of one of those ironic twists where it's sort of like something that's like electricity but isn't electricity. Or at the end of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, they defeat Electro by hitting him with electricity, which causes him to overcharge, and then he explodes.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Oh god, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Fucking Electro.
And remember, he had the little meter on the side of his head that showed how much electricity he had in him.
Oh god, what an awful movie. So, Yeah, I don't know why.
So they should have done that to Thor.
I don't know why that happened, but anyway, on to the last one. So when Hela, the goddess of death, was fighting all the Asgardian warriors who are like, you're not the heir to the throne, we're going to kill you. You've killed Thor and Loki.
These were the Asian guys, right?
Well, there was one Asian guy.
Yeah, so okay, the captain was Asian.
Yeah.
And were the rest of them wearing helmets?
Yeah, they were wearing helmets.
Yeah, I thought so.
And so all I wanted to say was, well, she later on in the movie she destroys a Muriel in the seedling, and obviously behind that Muriel is another Muriel of what actually happened when she was by Odin's side. So obviously they took over all these worlds, they destroyed a lot of their enemies, and I'm just wondering why Hela, because she knew it was there, why couldn't she have just shown the Asgardian warriors that?
Because action scene.
Yeah, but then she wouldn't have to kill all of them. They could have been useful, and they would have been like, oh yeah, shit, this person is the heir to the throne. She is the firstborn son of Odin. Yeah, she is queen.
But action scene.
Yeah, but action scene. Yeah, I know, Michael. I know.
And wasn't it a very gripping and intense action?
Oh
scene?
yeah, so exciting.
Didn't you feel the great emotional weight of disposable CGI army number 2 of the film?
When she killed those first 5 people, I was like, oh, this is interesting. Then when she got to the 28, I was like, okay, this isn't really that interesting. Then when the 129th one died,
that's when it got to me.
That's when it was like, yeah, this has gone too far.
Yeah, that was...
And by the 317th, I was just bored.
Well, I mean, I think what was really intense is that you knew that established characters like CGI soldier number 743 was equally at risk as Thor himself.
That's what made it so interesting, so captivating, so compelling.
I was worried that Thor was going to die.
So was I. I mean, I'd already seen him in the trailer for Infinity War. I was so worried he wasn't going to make it. Yeah.
I know they've planned out 20 more films with Thor in them, but I was really worried. I always found the action scenes with Thor really gripping, because I was just worried he was going to die.
See, that's the trouble with these movies. When you have the character in another sequel, and you're watching this movie trying to, well, I guess there's no tension because you know he's not going to die. Like, for example, the Black Panther movie. I haven't seen it, but I know he's going to be alright. It's going to be fine because I've seen the trailer for Infinity War where he's ruling Wakanda and he's alive. So, kind of ruins the tension.
Yes, it's...
Yeah, so, that's it basically. That's all.
Is that your Netflix?
There we go.
Good. So actually, Luke, we've actually worked up a pretty good segue, because one of the things that I wrote down for the plot was, first of all, the first note I wrote down was giant CGI alien monster, because the opening scene, prologue of sorts, is Thor is having a conversation with Satan.
Yes.
And of course,
he said
Satan
that really aggressively.
Yeah, well, I just thought it was...
It's the Christian in you coming out.
Yeah, bloody Satan. And of course, Satan is a giant CGI alien monster, which is just a pretty recurring villain for Marvel films. But I mean, he wasn't the main villain, so I don't really want to criticize that. But I do have to criticize the fact that there were 3 disposable CGI armies in this film. There was first of all, the little Satans, all the Satan Juniors, are attacking Thor, and I mean, yeah, like, imagine doing a kill count for one of these films, because it's literally just, he gets this hammer and it's just like it's as if it's just like, it's no effort for him to kill any of them. It's just effort for him to kill all of them.
Yeah. I like the bit at the end, the last CGI army, with Scourge killing all of them with his guns. And what I noticed, he killed one of the bad guys by literally just hitting them with his gun, and the bad guy just fell apart. Like, he just smacked it with his gun. Like, if he smacked me like that, I wouldn't die. I just really hurt my head. But this bad guy literally just crumbles.
Well, you know what? I mean, the Jedi are going to cut them down like they're butter.
They're gonna cut them
Because
down like
they're
they're
really
butter.
quite useless.
Wow, it's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
The other thing is, okay, and this is not a criticism, but it is something I thought about. The third CGI army, so obviously the second CGI army are the people who may or may not be Asian because they're wearing helmets, but the one guy who isn't wearing a helmet is Asian. So, you know, let's just assume that they're all Asian.
Okay, yeah.
Why not?
Go on.
So yeah, they're the second CGI army, and like we already kind of covered, you're not really on the edge of your seats for them. And yeah, the third CGI army, it's about as interesting as the giant disposable CGI army at the end of the Avengers. Like, they're pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm.
But the weird thing about these guys is that they were pretty much, and you're not going to know this, but they were exactly like the Army of the Dead at the beginning of the Mortal Kombat Deception. So,
Well, you were correct in stating
in
I
Mortal
wouldn't know that.
Kombat Deception, I'm going to get their names wrong, it's going to be really embarrassing. Shang Tsung and Quan Chi go to resurrect the mummified army of the Dragon King, Onaga. And they look literally exactly the same, to the extent I almost think it must have been like intentional. I mean, I'm actually gonna get them up right now, and I don't know.
This is
You can talk.
This is bad
Right,
radio.
Dragon King, mummified army. I'm gonna read it out as I say it, just to make it even worse.
Yeah, this is very unprofessional.
Well, you know, I'll probably cut this out because I was going to say you could talk, but you'll be able to hear me. Or maybe we can keep it in because it's so funny at this point.
Oh, it's hilarious.
It's become funny because it's so unfunny.
Yeah.
I said about something the other day, and I can't think what it was. It was something that was so just intensely unfunny. Okay, yeah, I've got.
Was it the Ajit Pai video? The Harlem Shake. See, you laughed.
Was that recent? Well, I remember the thing he did, which was, you know, like 10 things you can do after.
It was actually only 7.
Sorry, okay. Oh, you can. I would have
you
found
can
it funny
only do
if
7, not 10.
I would like it if the 7 things that you could do after after it passed had nothing to do with the internet.
Yeah.
You know what though? I mean, I have to point out that the internet does still exist, and we don't have net neutrality anymore. Do you think maybe
they actually do have net neutrality still?
Oh wait, I thought
enforced. And then that's in America anyway, so we won't notice a difference in the UK.
I feel like I'm a tomfool. So everyone was angry about something though. Was that just that a decision was made?
Yeah, the decision's made, but it's not actually happened yet. It's not actually
so that's
started.
why we still have the internet.
Yeah, I think there's going to be lawsuits against it as well.
I am sending you a picture of the mummified army of the Dragon King Onaga as we speak.
On Facebook?
On Skype.
On Skype.
I don't know how, you know, it's taken a while to send
it
through
is.
my end. I think it will. You ready for this, Luke? Are you ready?
Yeah.
It's coming.
Oh my God.
There we go. It's up.
Right. Okay, so Michael has just sent me an image of, what was this?
It is the mummified army of the Dragon King Onaga, and then we'll get up Thor, Ragnarok.
Yeah,
army.
I can see the similarities. I can see that. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like, it's generic, and the people in Thor are generic, so I don't think, like, they copied it. It's just, like, that's how generic CGI armies look.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
That's probably it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But anyway, I'm going to defend the movie a bit.
What?
Actually. Yeah. When it comes to these CGI armies that you have railed against. So I think it's fine to start off the movie with Thor killing a load of CGI people, junior Satans, because, you know, movies usually don't start off with, like, things that
Matter.
I think
It's
matter
just
that are that.
establishes, yeah.
Yeah. It's just established, like, what he's going to do, what his situation is, and he happens to kill a lot of people, and it's a nice action scene. So I don't have a problem with that one. Yeah, the second CGI battle, yeah, that's quite shit. Yeah, that's bad. But the third one, like, he kills a load of these people, what are they, like the Army of the Dead or whatever, that the goddess of death has resurrected. He kills them quite quickly, and it's, you know, there's like 10 seconds of Thor action scene of Thor actually doing it.
Yeah.
So it's not that important either. Like, it doesn't go on for like 5 minutes like some other movies do. So, I'm okay with it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think, I mean, to me, what I would say is good. I mean, I might be missing some stuff out actually, but the action scene I remember from Marvel that was particularly good was, especially involving like a large number of people, was in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, where Captain America, he's kind of like infiltrating a boat, and he's killing a load of soldiers. But the thing is, he's doing it in such a way where it like actually requires noticeable effort from him, which makes it more interesting. I think my general stance or general rule of thumb would be that these films should try to make the characters actually have some effort involved in their destruction of enemies.
Yeah.
I think it would be
saying.
more like, for example, Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones, he just kills loads of people, but it's not easy for him. I mean, it, especially seeing as the people he's fighting aren't people. So obviously the thing is, if it was human beings, then you could understand that Thor, God of Thunder, could just kill them quite easily. But if you're going to have them be mythical creatures, then you might as well make them mythical creatures that present like a bigger threat. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. The first one wasn't too terrible.
Well, I just wanted to actually talk about how, talking of the first, or the opening action sequence, I think, to be honest, that's a good comparison between that and the rest of the movie. Because, this is one of the points I was going to make. I think, Thor Ragnarok is a very, I guess, anti-conventional superhero movie. And I know you haven't seen Thor 2.
Yes, it's the only one I haven't seen.
The premise of Thor 2, like I said, it's the most boring Marvel movie. It's the most conventional Marvel movie. It's like this bad guy, he's called Malekith, played by, Christopher... What's the guy called who plays Doctor Who?
Oh, Christopher Eccleston.
That's it, Christopher Eccleston. I think he plays him. Malekith, this guy, this evil elf who's going to destroy the whole universe when the nine realms link up, and he's got this dark power that's going to destroy everything. I don't know what his motivation is, but that's what he's going to do. And so you can see, like, the first 10 minutes you get a villain who's very similar to Malekith in this one. And I think a more conventional superhero movie would have made that guy, Satan, the main villain. Like, he's got to destroy Asgard and Thor's got to stop him. And that would be the central conflict in the movie. And of course, Thor wins by battling a CGI army in the finale and stopping Satan from destroying Asgard. But obviously, that wasn't what the movie did. It was very, very, like I said, anti-conventional, very different. You have him go off to a planet where he fights the Hulk in a gladiatorial arena, tries to escape from being a slave all the time, while his sister is kind of taking over Asgard, which I guess is a more conventional thing, but it's not as conventional as how the opening 10 minutes would be if that was stretched to a full-length movie. So yeah, I just thought it was nice to see something completely different from a superhero movie. And like I said, compare that to Thor: The Dark World, there's just such a massive difference.
Yes. It sounds pretty significant difference. This film, it is. Yeah. It's definitely not. It's not Spider-Man, is it, Luke? It's not.
It's not Spider-Man.
It's not.
No.
Random guy decides to fight some bank robbers and then there's a bigger villain, and then he fights the bigger villain. It's also not Batman vs Superman.
No, it's neither of those two.
Yeah, it's
correct.
I can name it's not Fargo.
No, it's not. Yeah. So all I want to say is, the first 10 minutes is what this movie would be like normally.
Yes.
But I'm glad Marvel decided to take it in another direction.
Yeah, I think this is possibly the best Thor film. I mean, it kind of makes sense
definitely
because,
is.
yeah, I mean, obviously the reason that we're doing Thor 3 is because, well, you said, that, I mean, first of all, you think that Thor 2 is really forgettable, which I'm not arguing with, I'm just saying, and it sounds like it would be quite forgettable. And then Thor 1 is okay. It has Natalie Portman in it. She's always great
So
in
does
things.
Thor 2.
Okay, well.
No, I don't know. I just find it. I mean, she's a Harvard graduate, but I just find it hard to believe that Natalie Portman's just some amazing scientist who knows everything to do with physics or whatever. I can't remember what her exact title was, but she was an incredible physician. Physicist. That's it. Yeah, but that's a criticism of the first Thor.
Yeah.
And it's not sexist. It's just I can't imagine her specifically.
I will give you. I will assume that you can imagine some women.
Yeah.
Although actually,
in
The Incredible Hulk, Liv Tyler plays a. You know who
I
Liv
can't
Tyler
remember
is?
that
Do you know who
movie.
Liv Tyler is?
See,
I'm gonna tell you someone else she plays, and then you're not gonna know who this person is. You know Arwen from Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah.
She plays Arwen. And she also plays a woman in The Strangers, and she plays Rainn Wilson's girlfriend in the film Super. There we go. There's lots of films that you've definitely seen.
Well, I've seen the first one. I know who Arwen is.
Job. Yeah, the thing is actually Arwen's one of her better roles because she's kind of empowered in that film. The thing is, in every other film I've seen her in, she's kind of plays like a damsel in distress, basically. So I didn't really believe her in The Incredible Hulk. Didn't really believe her as a super genius.
Yeah, there you go. I was going to talk about the action scenes.
Oh, I wasn't. Yeah, I didn't write anything specific about the action scenes, to be honest.
Well, I was just wanted to say, I wish there was more, or they were better.
You wish there was more action? Is that what?
I wish there was more action scenes. Not necessarily more action. Oh, maybe more action as well. Well, basically, I'll explain. So, obviously if you've seen the trailer for this movie, and I assume you have.
I actually very rarely watch trailers, on purpose.
Yeah, okay.
So.
Well, basically that was the right move with this because the trailer set up that it was going to be the Thor versus Hulk thing was going to be quite significant.
Yeah.
The trailer is just basically the whole scene. It's like 20% of the actual scene between Thor and Hulk in the gladiatorial ring. And I was thinking, based on the trailer, that the fight was going to be longer. Or, if they cut it short like they did, the fight wasn't that long, there was going to be a second fight. And I'm disappointed that neither of those two things actually happened.
Well,
I think it would be... Sorry, I was just going to say, I think it would be good if there was a second fight between Hulk and Thor, and that could be where they start a revolution.
Yeah.
Because in the original Planet Hulk comic, which obviously this movie is partially inspired by, Hulk is this, on an alien planet trapped in his Hulk form, and he starts a revolution to overthrow the government. And so, that kind of happens in this movie, but not really. So I was thinking, they could go in for a rematch, again, Thor versus Hulk, and, instead of fighting, they decide, we're gonna overthrow this Grandmaster. I thought that would have been a good idea.
Yeah, I have two things to say in response to that, I think. Actually, three things. Okay. Thing number one, I think seeing as Natalie Portman is already an established character within the Thor franchise, it would have been good if they had Thor and Natalie Portman and Ewan McGregor for some reason tied up in the stadium, and then they were all confronted with these massive giant monsters, and then
Hayden Christensen.
What's his name?
Hayden Christensen.
No, I'm not going to say. No, I want to say I know the actor who plays him. I'm just trying to remember what the character is called in Samuel L. Jackson's character in Marvel.
Nick
Fury. That's it. If Nick Fury could
comes
show
up
up
to the
and go,
Grandmaster.
This party's over, Jeff Goldblum, and Jeff Goldblum could go. It seems that this contest can not be decided through our knowledge of the Force, but with our skill with the lightsaber. And they would have. That's chaos theory.
Oh my god.
And then I can't think who the Marvel equivalent to Yoda is, but whoever it is, he's going to take out his little laser sword and really go to town.
And really go to town.
That's what people want to see.
So many references to George Lucas in this particular pod. But what do you think about the actions?
Luke, I
do you agree
still
with my
had
idea?
2 more things to say, Luke. Second thing.
God.
Actually, I think I'm going to do this in a different order now. Okay, so the fact that this was inspired by Planet Hulk is something I was going to talk about, because I don't watch cartoons because I'm not a man-child.
Well, neither do I, but I just heard about it.
I remember that for some reason there was recommended on YouTube, there was a video which was a scene from the Planet Hulk cartoon, and it was Hulk vs. Thor, and it was in an arena. It was a gladiator match between Hulk and Thor in an arena, and they were fighting each other. So I was like, when I saw this, I was like, wow, what are the chances that the one scene that I've seen from a Planet Hulk cartoon would be in this film? So I guess it's probably quite a famous scene based on the fact that it was I think it had over 1 million views on YouTube, so it's kind of a big deal, I guess. My third thing is this, and this is kind of my response to your whole action scene thing. How involved were you in the house viewing of Spartacus that took place in second year of university?
How involved?
Okay, so basically, I watched not quite every episode, because when we were at university, we had Netflix, and people started watching Spartacus, and obviously, the thing is, not everyone was in the room always when we watched each episode, so I watched quite a few of the episodes, but I didn't watch all the episodes. I was just wondering if you'd seen any of the episodes, really?
Yeah, I saw quite a few. I knew what was going on.
And I don't know, what I learned from that is that you can take the premise of someone fighting in an arena and stretch it out real far. And the thing is, it wasn't
real.
I mean, I'm not going to say it was a good TV series, but I also am not going to say it was a bad TV series. I would place it alongside Beowulf.
You know what you're getting.
Now, yeah, you do know what you're getting. So I think it would have been interesting if they would have stretched out this. I think this film was too fast paced, which I find myself saying a lot about films, and this is me kind of agreeing with your action thing. I think it would have been interesting if pretty much almost the entire film was dealing with the idea of Thor as a slave in a realm where he isn't, a god, and he isn't a king or something like that. And, you can have the thing in the background of his sister, taking over. And then obviously, he breaks free. It kind of, it's almost literally like, he goes to the place, meets Jeff Goldblum, fights Hulk, and then they escape. And that's it. It would have been interesting to kind of have more of Thor struggling emotionally and physically with, the fact that he's trapped, his sister's taking over this place. You never really see Thor, emote over what's happening with his sister. You never really see him emote over his own, negative situation. So it's kind of just he's just oh, my sister's taken over. We've got to go defeat her. Oh, I'm a slave who's got to fight as a gladiator. I've got to go escape. You never have a moment of, and it's annoying because it's a good premise of, this is, because, it reminded me of the first film. The whole thing of the first film that's interesting is it's like a fish out of water scenario where it's oh, you've got someone who's, from Asgard. He's a mythical creature. What would happen, or mythical god? What would happen if you took a mythical god and placed them in the modern, 21st century?
That's one of the reasons why I like Wonder Woman.
Yeah, the Arnold Schwarzenegger classic Hercules in New York. It's but yeah, it's an interesting. It's like fish out of water scenario, and of course in that situation, Thor is incredibly powerful. So he's on Earth, and his thing is that he is a god on Earth. So then this is kind of almost like a reflection of that. So it's rather than he's in a different world where he's not a god, he's a slave. And I think you could, I mean, I'm not saying that they, that they weren't aware of that or that that was something they were ignoring, but I think you could have done more with that idea of like fish out of water, completely alien world, and he's a slave there. He's, not powerful. He's not.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess, and like I say, I mean, just to bring that back to action, the action scenes, which is what you were asking about, and I don't want to ignore that. I think that would have made the action more interesting. If it was like, basically what I'm saying is that Chris Hemsworth needs to actually be able to show emotions. And I'm just going to go out on a whim here and say that this comes down to, well, I think this might come down to Chris Hemsworth not being a great actor. I also think that the screenplay probably didn't ask for him to do any of this, and that's a problem in itself. But I also feel like Chris Hemsworth I don't think Chris Hemsworth is a convincing emoter. I mean, I've not seen him in anything ever try to emote, but yeah.
Yeah, so I agree with you in that this movie was a bit too fast paced. The thing is, you've got this whole situation with his sister, the goddess of death, taking over Asgard, and that obviously is pretty significant to the whole to Thor and the whole sort of movie. So you can't spend that much time in Sakaara. I think that's what it's called, the planet.
Oh, Sakaria.
Sakaria.
Yeah, can't spend that much time in Sakaria.
Yeah, so I thought, if he stayed there for longer, perhaps, like I said before, started a revolution, and they, like, in the arena, when all the cameras were watching, all the people were watching, and they obviously know where Jeff Goldblum is, he's sitting, in his little box. So, there you go, that's the time to start it. And yeah, I think it would have been really interesting to have him on that planet more.
Yeah.
And obviously, but they need to, the whole reason why he's there is because of his sister. And that goes to another problem in the movie, which is structure. So you keep, like, having, obviously, this B story. It keeps on cutting back, time and time again, as it has to what's going on in Asgard with Hela, even though it's not really that interesting. And it's like, okay, we've got to see this. We've got to see her, kill all this CGI army. We've got to see her, resurrect her previous army. We've got to see Heimdall save all the villagers or whatever. Even though there's a really interesting story going on with Thor and Loki. And yeah, that B story, I guess you need it, but it is kind of annoying how it keeps coming back to that.
Yeah, I didn't care. I did think the film kind of stopped with the B story. B story really stopped it dead, in its tracks. Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you get around it, really.
I think that the best way to do it would be to have well, first of all, I think the best way to do it would be to have her have the masses on her side, because the problem is you don't really want to see your good guys be represented by a faceless mass of disposable soldiers. You want to see your good guys be represented by, actual characters you care about and who are at risk. So I think the logical way to do it would be to have Thor be gotten rid of and her become, powerful in a way where it's kind of like people kind of dislike Thor. So, something she does that basically makes Thor a pariah and causes her to rise to power. And then you could literally have, a character. I mean, they probably should have established more characters to care about in Asgard beforehand, in the previous two films.
They had the Warriors 3 mantle. The Warriors 3 who died right away.
Yeah, exactly.
As Hela came into Asgard, which I'm fine with, to be honest.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, you need like it's kind of like the famous Zack Snyder film 300.
How so?
Okay, so in that film, it cuts away from the action scenes to show Leonidas's wife trying to engage in political maneuvering to ensure that the Spartan army will go to war against Xerxes. And it's not actually boring because you care, basically, because it's directly related to
Okay, I get you. So they had a character who you cared
trying to
back
help
on Asgard. Yeah, getting involved in all the shenanigans going on back there. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that would make sense.
And I think that would be kind of, and then you can have a thing where maybe there's some people who are trying to rescue Thor. To be honest, actually, I want to talk about this because this is something that bothers me. And admittedly, I can't really complain because I haven't seen Thor 2, which I know you say is irrelevant, and I think the fact it's irrelevant means I'm going to assume I have a right to complain here. One of the things that people talk about with these Marvel films is how they set it up over multiple films and things like that. That's like the big thing. Like, they've got these films and they set everything up. I think that these films don't actually plan ahead enough. And the reason I say that is because in this film, and maybe this is not actually a retcon, but Loki comes back to life. And I really do think that they did that because when they killed Loki, they didn't know what they were going to do next. And then they sat down and they said, what are we going to do? And someone was like, let's bring Loki back to life. Because, Loki's supposed to be dead.
He comes back at the end of Thor 2.
Oh, right, okay.
So, yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Like
so basically what happens is he dies, and then Odin... so then Thor and Odin are having a conversation after Loki's death, and, it's very sad and everything. And the movie is about to end, but then Odin changes into Loki after Thor leaves. So you're like, Loki survived. What's he done with Odin? And it sets it up.
Okay, so it was...
But the thing is, I forgot all about that, obviously, watching this movie for the first time.
Yeah. But the other thing is, I feel like... I genuinely feel like the planning ahead that Marvel does could almost be reduced to... They have, a big calendar of, which films are going to release, and they kind of go, okay, we're going to have this superhero here, then this one here, then we're going to do this one, then we're going to do this one. And, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that for the majority of their films, I don't think they plan ahead with the villain, and I also don't think they plan ahead with the synopsis in that many ways. Because I think if you knew you were going to be making a film like this, then I would think that you should be really establishing characters in the first film that are going to make an emotional and dramatic difference, down the line. I don't know, basically what I'm saying is I don't think the Marvel plans ahead that much. And I think, for example, I think you see it with Iron Man. I don't think Iron Man was planned ahead that much. When I watch the actual kind of independent Marvel films on their own and kind of just watch them from, first film to third film or whatever, I don't see a coherent story unfolding. It doesn't seem...
No, you're right. That'd be pretty difficult though, I think.
I don't know, I think basically what you would require... Actually, I really want to talk about this as the Star Wars thing, because I think it's interesting looking at the Star Wars and coherent story, so I'm going to talk about this as Star Wars, but basically, when I watch Thor 3, I'm not thinking wow, Thor 1 was written with this in mind. And I think if the whole idea behind Marvel is supposed to be that it's planned out and it's it's all connected, then really you should be kind of being able to see that Thor 1, or at least Thor 2, was written with this in mind. And I don't know, I haven't seen Thor 2, Luke, but do you feel like Thor 2 was leading to this?
No.
So I think,
No, there's absolutely no mention of Thor's sister.
Yeah.
Until this movie.
Yeah.
So you're correct. It doesn't lead to, it's just we gotta create a new Thor movie. His sister comes back
exactly.
from the dead. So there you go. I think that is, an issue with a lot of these movies that are, maybe there isn't enough planning, but I still think it'd be really difficult to make everything fit.
Well, I think this is another example of Avengers as a concept ruining the individual Marvel characters, because it does seem increasingly like the solo films are filler at best, with an intention to establish some characters, but apart from that, the plot is kind of just we need to have.
Well, there were filler back in the day.
Yeah, it worked.
I think
it worked pretty much before the Avengers. Though. I don't know how great it was after the Avengers.
Between the Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron, I think that's the worst period of, we just got to create movies for the sake of it. Like Iron Man 3 and, let's say, Thor 2, just movies for the sake of movies.
Yeah.
Nothing really happened in there that was significant.
Yeah.
But Black Panther, for instance, that's got a lot of rave reviews, because of the fact that it's just not an understanded superhero movie.
Yeah, I mean...
so I think they're getting better.
The thing about Black Panther is Black Panther is a good film on its own, which is like... So Black Panther is not good because it feeds into this larger Marvel universe. Like, what the funny thing is that the whole thing people say about Marvel, again, I mean, I feel like I've said it's not, the whole thing people say about Marvel is, it's all planned out, it's all interconnected. But the best Marvel films I can think of are the films that were probably made with the least consideration to the wider universe. You know, like, I mean, obviously, and again, Black Panther, I haven't seen it, but I assume it does connect to the wider universe, but it also takes you to a distant kingdom that no one even knows exists. So, you know, I do think, it's kind of like, it's not as if I'm not watching the Marvel films being like, I can't wait to see how this builds into the wider Marvel mythos. I'm kind of thinking, at best, well, I hope they, you know, just make a good film. For, you know, for once. What if you... Actually, you know, one thing I wanted to talk about with regards to this being an unconventional film, because I just wrote this down. It kind of feels silly, and I don't know what your opinion on this is, so I don't know how much I want to state my opinion. When I was watching the Hulk vs. Thor fight, I thought to myself, we're basically watching gamma radiation versus Norse mythology. And it kind of seems a bit like ridiculous, because it's like, you know, two things that it's you know, two things that you shouldn't think should really be on the same level. So, you know, who would win between a mutated scientist who's been hit with gamma radiation versus a Norse god? It doesn't even make, you know. Yeah,
it is ridiculous. But this movie, there is a lot of ridiculousness in this movie, but I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm completely fine with that, because I feel, it's a bit Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, they took a bit of inspiration from that, but I'm fine with that generally. Like, that's, you know, if it makes Thor more interesting, then, you know, I'll watch it.
Yes. I have just a few other things to talk about.
We were going to talk about the world building.
Yeah, I've actually got characters, humour, and world building left. Take your pick, Luke.
Okay. Well, let's go with characters first.
So basically I only have one thing to say about characters. You had loads to say about characters. So I'm going to say mine first, because I want to know if you've spoken about this character. So, this film kind of deals with the Hulk, and one of the things that this film does, which I think is interesting, is it explores the idea of the Hulk as an actual second personality. Because I didn't know this about the Hulk until I found it out by accident through procrastinating onto videos I don't care about. And I kind of saw a video about the Hulk's origin story. But basically, here's the 101 of the Hulk. Bruce Banner, when he was a kid, was like abused and stuff. And it caused him to develop a secondary personality. And an interesting thing about secondary personalities, and this is actual science, is that the second personality often has a different physiology to the first personality. So an example of this, and again, this is actual science, like it's actually been observed. There are people who have multiple personalities where one personality is allergic to different stuff.
That's quite
so, you know, obviously, I mean, multiple personalities, it's kind of like a complicated thing, but, you know, so one person's there, and one personality, you give them a peanut, and they're fine. The other personality, you give them a peanut, and they have an allergic reaction. So it's kind of like that idea that people have different physiologies, and the idea with the Hulk is that Bruce Banner has this secondary personality who is kind of so intense and, you know, like rage-filled that his personality becomes like really strong because of that. And then, of course, he gets hit with gamma radiation, and the Hulk personality is able to harness that gamma radiation because of its unique physiology and become the Hulk. And that's what the Hulk is. And it's interesting to kind of realize that the Hulk isn't just like It's an actual personality, kind of like like Fight Club. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, Michael. You know what? I'm just hearing you speak about this, and it sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
And it just makes me think, oh God, they missed. That would have been great in the Incredible Hulk movie.
Well, the problem with the Incredible Hulk movie is it started off in media res. Is that the word? I think that's what it means. It started off in the middle. I think media res is the fantastic.
It would have been really cool to explore like his childhood and like all of that stuff. What made him become not just like this monster, but actually a guy with two personalities.
Oh yeah,
that sounds so interesting.
My opinion.
Why didn't they do that?
My opinion on this, and I said this in the last episode actually, is I do think the Hulk was the greatest casualty of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because I think he's been very underutilized in terms of his character and the questions that his character raises. One of the things that actually did annoy me about this film is that something that I've always said, since before I was even born, I've said this, is that they should have an independent Hulk series, and the central driving force of the Hulk should be the question of, should the Hulk harness these negative emotions for the greater good? And the problem, one of the things this film did that kind of annoyed me, is that there's a bit where the Hulk kind of asks this question. I think it's when Bruce Banner turns into Bruce Banner, and Thor's like, you've got to Hulk out, and Bruce Banner's like, oh, I don't know if I should do that, sounds kind of bad, and they kind of like play it off as like a joke, which is kind of like not what I would want to do with the Hulk. I would like the Hulk's, when the Hulk's saying, I don't think I should become the Hulk, it should be like an actual thing that bothers him. Like, he should have a deep internal conflict about the fact that his great source of power is becoming, angry and things like that. So yeah, that did bother me. But like, I mean, the thing,
I can see what you're saying.
So what was it, that's what I mean when I say like he's a big casualty of this Marvel universe, because the Marvel universe is inherently a fun thing, whereas the Hulk story is, I mean, we were saying about Iron Man that we appreciate and think it was a clever idea to not have Iron Man be a kind of mopey, disturbed person, which is what he is in the comics, because it's fun with the Tony Stark Iron Man to have him be Robert Downey Jr. But with the Hulk, I think it makes like a lot of sense to have him be like that.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, if you were to do a standalone Hulk movie in the future, it would be sad. It would probably take on a completely different tone to the other Marvel movies. Because, if you really wanted to explore his character, and it would be interesting.
But you...
I can see... Yeah.
You wanted to... So that's the only character I really wanted to talk about, but you can...
Well, I was just going to talk about, basically, some of the characters that were interesting. I think we need a note or talk about them. So, obviously, Thor, less serious in this movie than he was in previous movies, and that also is replicated in the tone of this movie. It's less serious than Thor 2, and the first Thor, very silly, as we mentioned before. I just wanted to, you were saying before how this movie is fast paced.
I was saying before.
Yeah. And Thor was, and so there's not a lot of opportunity for Thor. He's just like, well, I've got to do this, then I've got to do this. Not a lot of opportunity for him to reflect on what's going on. You mentioned before about how, what do you say he, oh my god. Please stop. He was, so there's this one moment where he's reflecting on what's been going on, when he's talking to Loki, when he's in prison, and Loki comes in as a ghost, and Loki says to him, say something, and Thor just says, father's dead because of you, and now I'm trapped here, about to, and my sister's taken over Asgard, or whatever, and he sounds it's a pretty serious moment, but that's the only moment where he's actually reflecting on what's happened over the last 2 days. He says that's all happened in the last 2 days, so he's pretty pissed off with Loki. And I think if there was more, I guess, character development with Thor, that would be nice, because again, there's no real character arc or development. There's a bit with him, his dad dies and then he realizes that, he's more than his hammer. He's got this lightning in him. And it doesn't really explain how he got this new lightning power that he uses twice in this movie, once in the battle with Hulk and at the end battling his sister. But yeah, I think it would have been nice, obviously, because it's his movie, if it was more about him.
Yeah.
And maybe learning to step out of his father's shadow or something. And yeah, the death of his dad doesn't really impact him that much. Like, he doesn't really seem concerned by it at all. He's got a happy mood for the rest of the movie, even though I imagine his dad's death must have caused him a lot of discomfort.
Yeah, also, I would assume that gods would be uniquely rubbish at dealing with death. They're probably not used to it.
Yeah, exactly. But he gets mad for like a second, when he brings the thunder in Norway. Then his sister shows up, so then he has to deal with that. And yeah, I just think it would be really good if this movie was a bit deeper with when in regards to Thor. But like we said before, it's very silly. It's a very silly movie, so maybe the tone then would just be all over the place, and it wouldn't seem right. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Thor. So then there's Jeff Goldblum, who we mentioned recently. Sorry, not recently, before, about how the thing is, like, if you've seen Jeff Goldblum in interviews, I actually listened to a podcast about him. He was a guest on a podcast I listened to recently. And like, he's exactly the same in the podcast as he is, like, in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, he's literally just playing himself.
Yeah.
And it's fun, it's entertaining, but I'm not sure, like, if he was actually acting.
Yeah, that is very true. I mean, I like, Jeff Goldblum. I don't really know why. I don't know why I like him. But
yeah.
There's
just something about it. He's got a good spirit to him.
Yeah, he just seems... Have you seen, Steamed Hams, but it's voiced by Jeff Goldblum?
Yeah, I saw that, yeah. Like, he'll just do stuff like that. He won't have a clue. He'll just do it.
I don't think that he has ever actually played a character, really. I don't know. Have you ever seen
What about the guy in Jurassic Park? That's not very Jeff Goldblum.
Oh yeah, that's nothing like Jeff Goldblum. That's nothing like Jeff Goldblum. He's completely different. That's chaos. See, what you people did is you stood on the shoulders of giants, and before you even knew what you had, you marketed.
Well, he's more serious.
No, yeah, I do agree. What about in
Jurassic Park?
What about in the film? I think it's called Death Wish, where he says, "Rich cunts, I kill rich cunts," and then he slaps a woman around. What about that film?
Yeah, he's.
Or in The Fly.
That's the thing. Yeah, he's rich in real life, so you probably wouldn't say that.
What about in The Fly, where Jeff Goldblum's dad buys a matter transporter from Dr. Frink, and then he grabs a fly and walks into the matter transporter and comes out as a half fly, half human. And then his dad gives him sugar to eat, and then I can't remember how that episode ends. Do you know which one I'm talking about? I'm talking about the Simpsons episode. It's a Halloween episode where Bart becomes a fly.
Yeah, Flyboy Bart. Yeah,
Flyboy Bart.
Okay.
But it's based on the Jeff Goldblum film, The Fly.
Right, I haven't seen that, but yeah.
Really? Well, that's not necessary. It's an old film, but I think it's considered what they say is a quote classic. So, what
maybe
they
I should
call
check that out.
A classic.
So, two more characters. Sorry, we got Hella, who is
she's hella cool.
She is hella cool. She's got a bit of a personality to her. She's not like a standard villain. She's got a bit of charisma. She's not like the villain at the start, the movie Satan.
Yeah.
Or the villain in Thor 2, Malekith. So yeah, that's appreciated that she just wasn't like, your standard villain who says very mean and daunting things. She's a bit different, which is nice. Kate Blanchett, I think, did a good job.
Yeah, well done, Kate Blanchett.
Well done, Kate Blanchett. And then you got the Valkyrie.
Rise of the Valkyrie, right?
I think we need to mention her because she plays quite a big part in the movie. She's the alcoholic former Asgardian warrior who's turned to scrapper in Sakaara.
I thought she was the Earth military woman who decides at the end to join the Na'vi and paints her helicopter with a blue stripe on it.
Is that
Do you
the same actress?
No, I think the actress in Avatar is Michelle Rodriguez. But
Oh, it is, yeah.
I found them similar in that they both kind of ride around in futuristic flying technology and are feisty women.
That is a good point. Yeah, she's very feisty, very very empowering woman.
Yeah, very empowering.
Yeah.
Well, she hits things.
Yeah,
That makes her empowering.
and she's not a stereotype. She
No,
drinks.
Yeah, she drinks.
So, that's good. Look, I know you haven't seen Thor 2, but the Warriors 3 played a bit of a role in that, as they do in Thor 1. Like, yeah, and I think Red Letter Media did this when they did the review of Thor Ragnarok, and and Rich was asking Mike and Jay questions about the previous 2 Thor movies, and he said, "Can you name any of the Warriors 3? Like, what are their names?" And obviously they couldn't.
I'm gonna go for very Norse names. I'm gonna go for Eric. I'm gonna go for Svein, and I'm gonna go for Harold.
I think you are incorrect on all of them, Michael.
Oh, really? I thought, because they'd be Norse. That's what they like to call themselves, those Norse people. Hello, my name is Eric Eriksson, and this is Harold Haraldsson, and this is Svein Sveinsson.
They're called
I come from
Hogan.
Sweden.
They're called Hogan, Bolgstad, and Vandral. 3 called their appearances in the movie noble ends that serve to establish the threat of Hela and the danger she poses to the main characters. How very noble. They
really
died
felt-
instantly.
Yeah, that was...
Sorry?
That was... Yeah, I really felt the tension there.
Yeah, very noble. All Marvel fans will remember the Warriors 3.
It's
so
like
they're all
in the
dead.
beginning of Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance when they kill Liu Kang right away.
Yeah, and they're all replaced by this Valkyrie character, who's a very much more interesting character than any of them. So that's good.
Yeah, well done.
Well done there. So yeah, that's basically all I have to say about the characters.
Yes, that's good. I think that I want to mention one character who had a New Zealand accent, and this is going to be my segue. I liked it because I find New Zealand accents inherently funny, but how do you think New Zealand people feel about that? Or New Zealanders, I guess they're called Kiwis. Because, it's when a character has a New Zealand accent, you just want to laugh. Like, imagine a serious comedy where a guy's like, right there, I can't do a New Zealand accent. I mean, I can't do any accent. But, Legend. You legend.
Well,
you.
I'm not going to try New Zealand accent, but I do think their accent is funny. One of my favourite...
You could say every sentence like it's every vowel like it's an E sound. They only have one vowel sound, and it's E.
We're from New Zealand. We like sheep and rugby. It's Portugal Blitz.
There we go. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like you can't have like that accent in a serious film. It's just such a, and I don't know. Like, I mean, maybe New Zealand people like it.
Yeah, one of my favourite Simpsons episodes is the one where they go to Australia, and obviously the Mr. Prime Minister bit with the accents.
Oi, as Mr. Prime Minister.
Mr. Prime Minister.
Andy.
This is a bloody outrage.
That's a good word.
That's a good word. I'm going to contact me member of Parliament. I've got something to report to you.
You're being an Australasian racist there.
Yeah, I know. But it's just so funny.
Yeah, they are. They're so funny. Those.
Anyway, what are you going to segue to?
Like our podcast would be on like 1,000 subscribers if we were from Australia or New Zealand, because that would be like.
Oh yeah, definitely. But
yeah, just so much.
We've got boring accents there.
Yeah, British.
Who cares about that?
Yeah.
I mean, it makes everything we say sound smarter, so that's good.
But not funnier.
But not funny. No. Anyway, what were you going to say?
I did want to talk about. Okay, so the humor in this film. I did have one thing that I didn't like. A lot of the humor in this film. Well, I think this was more the case in the beginning. Was just kind of like people falling over. Like it almost like there's a bit where like Thor gets out of his spaceship thing, and he just like falls over,
So you're saying the humour is cheap, Michael? Slapstick.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm saying like the humor almost feels like Ghostbusters. I honestly, I felt like someone should come on and go, "The power of Thor compels you." Slap.
Well, this movie isn't a comedy. Talking about Spider-Man: Homecoming before, how that is basically a comedy. This movie is quite humorous.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes I do feel like Marvel is trying too much to be themselves, that it almost feels like self-parody, because it's like obviously Marvel's thing is that they're like kind of funny.
Yeah.
So you know how like everyone was saying about The Last Jedi, they were saying how The Last Jedi had weird comedy in it, like it almost seemed like it had like moments of kind of comedic irreverence.
Yeah,
and I feel like
yeah.
And that's kind of the thing that Marvel introduced, like the whole comedic irreverence to undermine a dramatic tone, things like that. And also Justice League did that too. Like Justice League tried to make the characters seem, as like serious, but then suddenly, oh, hey there, my name's Batman, and I'm gonna fall over for some reason, I feel like there were some moments in this film where I didn't even think the writers were writing it because they thought it was funny. I thought it almost felt like it was like, we're a Marvel film. This is how characters react to situations in a Marvel film because it's funny.
So the drama and the seriousness is taken away.
Yeah.
And that I think is fine for like a Thor Ragnarok movie, but it will be interesting to see if they keep that up for Infinity War.
Yeah.
I don't think they will, because I think this Thanos thing they've been building for like 6 years, so it's got to be more serious. Thanos thing has got to be a threat.
I think Thanos is going to show up, and literally the first scene he's going to fall over.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see
Thanos.
Thanos falling over, or when he's making his dramatic entrance to take over Earth, then he's not going to like accidentally like say something he didn't need to say and say, "Oh, sorry, got that wrong. Let me just try that again."
Well, do you remember Ultron?
That's not going to happen.
Remember how Ultron, his whole thing was like he was a villain, but he was like fun.
Yeah.
He was like the cool substitute teacher. He's like, "Hey guys, call me Mr. G." That was Thanos, the cool villain.
I don't think Thanos is going to be like that. Thanos is going to be your typical villain. Yes, the headmaster. Exactly. Or at least I hope so, because I think if they undermine him, and he's got to be scary, he's got to be evil, and it's hard to make a character seem scary and evil if you're constantly making jokes surrounding him.
Yeah. I wouldn't see. The thing is, I'm going to say I don't know that I'd put it past Marvel. I mean, like I said, sometimes Marvel makes pretty good films, but I do think that when you look at, for example, the way that The Last Jedi kind of was a bit ruined some of its moments with its sort of silliness, I think they could do it. Because The Last Jedi, it was supposed to be like the second act thing where everything goes wrong, and everything did go wrong. Because, Rose crashed her ship into someone. But, like everything went wrong in The Last Jedi, which is like, makes sense because it's, the second act. But everything went wrong while people were going like, wah, 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 wah.
Yeah.
Like imagine if at the end of Empire Strikes Back, when Han gets lowered into the carbonite, it just went, wah, 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 wah. That's what Marvel would do.
Oh, or when he gets lowered into the carbonite, the stormtroopers accidentally put it on the wrong setting.
Yeah.
And put him. Oh, he's in jelly instead. I don't know. Some, funny thing. I was like, oh, got to do this again.
Darth Vader shows up and starts doing his stand-up routine because he's quirky. He's
quirky.
Like
that's fun.
Serious. And then you get
what the audience is like these days.
Star Trek brings in Zack Snyder, and it's like the Wrath of Khan. It's just like, tell me, Khan, do you bleed? You will.
Oh, God. So I think we can agree the tone here isn't serious, creates some humorous moments, but like I said, I think that's fine for like a third installment of the Thor series of movies.
The thing is, I didn't laugh at any of the writing. I laughed at Jeff Goldblum because he's Jeff Goldblum, and I laughed at the New Zealand guy because he had a funny accent. So I don't know what that says about me.
Says you're a horrible person.
Yeah, exactly. Now I think we come to the last and final and penultimate. No, not penultimate. It would be
The
that would be
ultimate.
the opposite. Yeah, ultimate.
Which is the
which is
world building.
the world building. So I want to tell you a story which makes me laugh. So the comic books. I don't know if you know this, Luke, but these comic book movies are based on a thing called comic books.
Oh, really?
It's hard to believe it because no one reads comic books, but
I didn't even know what a book is.
The only people who read comic books are movie studio executives who are like, let's go.
Trying to scrape together ideas.
Yeah, comic books now they should just change their name to first draft screenplays. But there's a comic book called Thor, and they did a thing recently. I don't know if it's still happening, where they changed Thor to a woman. They didn't literally.
Oh yeah, I remember
woman,
that. Yeah,
it's like they basically said like a female character picks up Thor's hammer and kind of becomes Thor in a weird way. Like, so it's not like Thor becomes a woman, but it's like a character assumes the role of Thor. And obviously, like, a load of people were saying, women, I hate women. And I was watching a video of these guys. I've mentioned a podcast before. It's a podcast where people talk about comic book films. And they were talking about it. And they were basically saying how, like, people shouldn't be sexist morons, pretty much. So,
that's a good point.
Yeah, good for them. But then in the comments, of course, it was a load of just like people trying to defend their sexism. And my favourite one was somebody saying, like, oh, I'm not sexist, but I just think that that Thor's a deity, and it's very disrespectful to present a deity as a woman. And I was like, it's double dumb, because number one, like, that is a sexist thing to say.
Yeah.
And number two, I don't think anyone would get upset. No one's getting upset about the fact that Thor's honourable name is being attacked in these films. Like, you couldn't make a film about Jesus Christ, the Avenger, because people would get offended, and you definitely couldn't make a film about Muhammad, the Avenger. I don't think that would go very well. But like, I don't know, like, I mean,
that just goes into people thinking that being called sexist and racist is actually worse than being sexist and racist.
Yeah, people. That's why Trump won.
Yeah, people are more offended by somebody getting called racist than somebody actually being racist.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But yeah, I mean, I bring that up to kind of talk about the fact that this film is based off a myth, or like, I'm offending all the Norse pagans. This film is based off. I'm just gonna say, yeah, this film is based off a myth, the Norse myths, and
well, so's the characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd imagine it would be.
Yeah, and obviously, I think that's an interesting idea, and I like it. I don't know, and I'm assuming you don't. I don't know if this whole world that they established in this film has anything to do with Sakara. I kind of see. Obviously, they talk about the 9 realms. I want to assume the 9 realms thing is actually like Norse mythology. Like, that's actually a thing. I know Asgard's a thing. Midgard's a thing. I don't know if this Sakara, because obviously the Sakara world, I assume that Norse people didn't have sci-fi, and obviously the Sakara world is intensely like sci-fi oriented.
Yeah.
So I would probably assume it's a creation, but it might be based on, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure the Sakara thing was based off the comics.
Yeah.
That's something that the comics would, and Asgard, and the goddess of death and all that. I assume that's Norse mythology.
It's an interesting idea, this idea of Thor, and I mentioned already how it's kind of like a fish out of water story.
Yeah.
In the first one and the third one, and it's kind of like fun.
Mm-hmm.
I always feel like these films don't set up enough, though. So, for example, the Valkyrie thing. Now, I assume that Valkyries are actual Norse things, because of course there's the song flight of the Valkyries.
And there's the Valkyrie rockets.
Yeah. So I assume that they're... Where are the Valkyrie rockets from?
They were a weapon in Black Ops.
Oh. Stupid me. I was thinking because I
assume they're based off
like
something in real life, though.
Yeah. I was going to say if it's a sports team, then it would make sense if it was from like Minnesota. You know,
Yeah.
Minnesota Vikings. But yeah, I think the weird thing about this film is that it kind of almost feels as if, despite the fact that it's based off a 1,000-year-old tradition, it feels like it's making it up as it goes along.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what do you think? I'd say this is good world building relative to most Marvel films, but then most Marvel films don't really need to do much world building because they're based in the real world, so maybe that's not I would say, I mean, I assume that it's better world building than Thor 2.
Well, Thor 2, it's based on Earth. Like,
yeah, boring.
Yeah, it's all about how I think Thor needs to get back to Asgard, and he can't get back to Asgard.
You can't build Earth, can you?
No, you can't.
It's already been built.
Maybe I've got... No, that's Thor 1 who needs to get back to Asgard, I believe. Yeah. So yeah.
So that's you not remembering. Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
I was going to say, I thought I recognised that plot.
Yeah, so basically, I think this world building is good. I think it's really good, actually. I think they demonstrated the kind of Wild Wild West feel of Sakaara quite well. The lawlessness, the scavengers. I really like the visuals, actually, how the city was designed as well. I did like that as well. It did feel like a proper like alien like planet, sort of different. Yeah, but not too out there, but fairly out there. So yeah, I did like the world building as well. Yes.
Yes, one thing I actually really liked was the bit where Jeff Goldblum just kills a guy.
Yeah, that was good. Just kills him.
It reminded me of, and this is the moment where I reveal that I'm actually a slight I think I'm the worst kind of comic book nerd. Because I'm a bit of a comic book nerd, but a comic book nerd with regards to a very niche comic series. So conveniently, we've already mentioned Judge Dredd in this episode, because of course Carl Urban plays Judge Dredd in the 2012 film Dredd.
Mm-hmm.
And of course Judge Dredd is published by the famous comic book company 2000 AD. Which is a British comic book company. And they also publish a comic book series called Strontium Dog. And Strontium Dog sounds a lot like X-Men, and you're just gonna have to excuse that because it's about, so there was a nuclear war on Earth, and the survivors were mutated, and the mutants were hated by the wider society. But what happened is one of the main jobs that you could get into if you're a mutant, because you're an outcast, is you could become a bounty hunter. And Strontium Dog basically follows the story of a mutated bounty hunter. And it's very futuristic. So he's traveling through space.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this one book episode issue where they go to this dictatorial kind of like totalitarian planet, and the way people are killed is that they're put into like this big bowl, like a bowl that's, like bigger than a human being, and then there's this massive platform and there's a rock on top of the platform, and they push the rock off the platform and it lands in the bowl, turning the person inside it into mush. But it's kind of like the king of this, totalitarian planet is written to be kind of like eccentric and, like crazy and like really jovial, but, he murders people really casually. And I immediately thought of that when I watched this.
Well, that's great.
And I'm not
such a long-winded story, Michael, for that.
Yeah, I know. And I'm also, it's not even relevant, because I'm not even accusing this of seeing that. But it was something, basically what I decided, Luke, is I realized that if they were going to make a Strontium Dog film series, which I think, really, the marketability of that.
Very high.
People would be queuing up round the block. Then they should make it with this tone. I think this tone would work well for a Strontium Dog.
Well, it's,
and it would separate it from Judge Dredd.
It's very Guardians of the Galaxy kind of tone.
Yes. I think actually, you know what? I think what would have worked slightly better, because they almost went there with the whole people being liquefied. You could have had an interesting kind of hot fuzzy kind of tone with this, like very comedic but also very violent. And I don't want to do the whole why aren't my comic book films rated R? Every film ever should be rated R, or else it's no good.
Well, we'll get onto that when we discuss Deadpool.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I think it's perfectly fine to have films aimed at children and not just mad children. But yeah, I think it would have been interesting with kind of to have like the happy tone and like the kind of. I guess this film's also quite colourful.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Possibly
that's why I said I like the
colourful.
visuals of it. Yeah.
Yeah, possibly more colourful than the average. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy was also pretty colourful. In fact, this film did feel very Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
I guess that would be my question, actually, Luke. Here's my question for you. What made this film different from Guardians of the Galaxy?
The fact that it was only on one planet, perhaps.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Apart from that, I don't know.
Because I do feel like the Thor in particular, I think maybe uniquely, it's like my criticism of the Marvel films is that I feel like there isn't a particular tone attached to each character.
Yeah, but if there was a particular tone attached to each character, and they were different
then it
tones,
wouldn't work well when they're all together.
Yeah, it wouldn't work well because then you'd have a massive clash. So I'm fine with that. But I do see your point.
It does feel kind of inconsistent. It's like, here's Thor. He's the person who was, he's one way in this film, but then they decided that they wanted to make a completely different style in this film, so now he's completely different. It's a bit weird.
Yeah. It gives them flexibility, but watching them back to back, like all 3 Thor movies, you're going to be like, wait, why has he changed so much? Like for this one. I will say this, though, about the Guardians of the Galaxy thing. I think, like I said before, it's fine making this a Thor 3 movie, like a fun movie, similar to Guardians of the Galaxy. But I really hope they don't, going forward, like, there are kind of more serious Marvel movies, because it's fine to, have fun movies, but I don't want I'm going to create this term here, I don't want there to be a massive Guardians of the Galaxyification of the Marvel Universe.
Guardians of the Galaxyification.
Guardians of the Galaxyification.
Well, did they have any pop songs in this? I think they did. They did at the beginning. Yeah.
Actually, thinking back to like that Guardians of the Galaxy thing in 2014, that was like literally the first like it was such a breath of fresh air because it was so fun. And then Marvel okay, because they love to repeat things. They're like, okay, we're going to keep on doing that again and again and again.
Well, that's the criticism of Deadpool, that it hasn't really happened. I mean, people were worried it would happen, and it kind of was okay. I think Logan ran to the rescue, because I remember what happened is Deadpool came out, everyone was like, okay, Deadpool's really good, Deadpool's really exciting, but let's not make every film Deadpool from now on, because that would be dumb.
Yeah.
And then I remember Logan got an R rating. And it was announced that Logan would get an R rating quite soon after Deadpool was released. And everyone was like, oh no, they're going to make Logan into a Deadpool film. It's going to be a anti-hero comedic kind of thing. And of course Logan was a almost uniquely fantastic film. And I think that's kind of assuaged people's fears a bit.
Yeah.
But I remember there was a concern with the whole Deadpool thing that people were like, okay, they're going to start making.
Well, the key is, Michael, a balance. You're going to have fun comic book movies. You can have serious comic book movies. You're going to have comic book movies that are in between. Don't do a load of one and forget the other. Like, for example, I'm just thinking about, we discussed earlier the Hulk movie, a Hulk standalone, which was really deep and serious. Kind of like how Logan was. And that would be really interesting to watch. And so, I just think produce good movies. And don't keep them all the same. Yeah.
Don't make the classic Simpsons line, "Thank God his pants stayed on."
Yes. Anyway.
Oh, I bet that's the thing. I bet if they made a Hulk standalone film, one of the lines would be, I go through so many shirts.
Yeah, something
that's what
like
he'd say, and then we'd go, wah, 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 wah. then that would be it. No.
Anyway, shall we sum up on Thor Ragnarok?
Yes.
We've been quite a while here.
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, so like I said before, it's a really fun movie, which is fine. I think it's one of Marvel's best movies, actually. If we were actually going to rank the Marvel movies, I don't think we ever will do that. But if we did, it would definitely be like in the top 5. And yeah, so well played to them. It was a big success, as we mentioned right at the start, with the box office returns. Yeah, so I think it was like we said before, unconventional. I do wish there could have been some improvements in the structure, in the action scenes, and in the actual story. But overall, really good. You'd certainly watch it again, no problem. So I am gonna give it an 8 out of 10, solid 8.
Okay, I know what I'm gonna rank this film. I actually didn't think ahead until just now, and then I worked it out. I'll say basically, this film was fun, but I also feel like this film lacks quite a bit of weight, and I feel like this film is like, it makes you want to look for something to kind of substantiate it. It makes you want to look for something greater and deeper in the previous Thor films, and I guess to a lesser extent the previous Marvel films, where again you'll go, wow, it's been leading up to this, and yeah, to me this film felt a bit like watching Thor do things. And the thing is, I guess what I would say is it was watching Thor do things, and it was fun watching him do things, but I think what to me would have made this film good. In fact, I'm going to say great. I'll say what would have made this film great is if they would have spent a bit more time in one area and a bit more time in one situation and focused a bit more on kind of the character-driven feelings in relation to that situation.
Yeah, I agree with that, yeah.
With that in mind, I will actually say this might be one of Marvel's best films. And I'm actually gonna put it at behind Manchester by the Sea. And it's funny that I'm putting it behind Manchester by the Sea, because of course Manchester by the Sea was what you might call an emotional tour de force. It was,
two very different movies.
Yes. And of course one of the main things that's kind of placing this film down for me is I don't think it had much of it didn't really make me feel much. Whereas of course Manchester by the Sea makes you feel quite a lot. But obviously this film did have fun in it. I'm putting it above Minority Report. Minority Report, is basically similar to Thor, but in the sense that, it's got, I didn't mention this when it came to Minority Report, but Tom Cruise really didn't actually do any emotional acting in Minority Report either.
No.
So there we go.
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw that criticism out of Minority Report. I think this film was more fun than Minority Report. But actually it's actually at number 10 in my ranking. But that's just because, we keep reviewing really good films.
Well, next week, Michael, we're reviewing Captain America: Civil War.
Yes. That is true, Luke. You're not wrong.
So, yeah, we'll see how that movie stacks up.
Yeah, I think it will be interesting, because I saw it, but, it's one of those ones where I do think it's kind of interesting to me to watch these Marvel films with a mind to actually thinking about whether or not I like them. Because I think for a lot of the sort of Marvel films I've watched, I kind of watch them more like, well, it's a new Marvel film. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
anyway. Thank you for watching. I think you say who we've been.
Yeah. So I've been Luke, and who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
And we've been selecting and reflecting on Thor Ragnarok.
Yes. And keep Ragnarocking.
Bye.
Bye.